going for God inquiry, this is when everything was going to be packed. And of course, before any other time, the committee, if you see, had members who were already gold miners, current mining committee, which were able to consider. Those are people who came on board through gold mining, Kokoza and so forth. That's why I say that it's easy to be a member of parliament in Zimbabwe. You just have to Kokoza and you become a member of parliament. You don't have to do anything more than that. It talks about even the performance of parliamentarians themselves to say, really, do they have the capacity? So they fought me, and we saw that they would team up and say, listen, we need to stop him now. We need to frustrate him, we need to get him out. And they would caucus before the meeting and make sure that I don't tackle the issue of the God inquiry. The God inquiry, I've already done my whole comment. I knew who was involved, and I knew who to get to. When I chaired the committee, I even, the government committee, if you remember, even invited the former president, because I believe everybody must account. And we wrote to him, and the speaker was very supportive. It was constitutional for us to do that. We even called the security from the EG, Director General CIO, Army, the Vice President, Minister of State Security, because we wanted to get to the bottom of all this. So no one was going to be spared in this. And when you are doing this in Parliament, you are protected, and you are able to do it in a more diligent, professional manner where you open it up to other members and they are able to then debate. The God inquiry did not happen, and it will never happen for as long as you don't have somebody who is independent to actually chair it, because we will touch on some of the committee members in that committee who are involved in this, and you name and shame. In naming and shaming, there is no ZANU-PF person who's prepared to name and shame his new leaders. Maybe even MDC itself. This is where the party politics is stupid, it's foolish, that you cannot name and shame your own leader. You've got to protect them. The moment you name and shame, you have a letter by your hotel door that you've been suspended, expelled, and you're recalled. So because of that, they will not do it. So they then have to appoint a chairperson who will protect the interests of the party. The interests of the party do lie in the leadership. So, yes, it was going to happen, and they made sure that it does not happen. And I was removed from that position as the chairperson of the mining committee. I have no issues with it. It does not mean that I cannot bring it up in Parliament with a backbencher. It's something that we are working on as a thing. I brought it up several times in Parliament in terms of how we have to do them, why we are not doing it, who's involved, and all that. Coming to the issue of structures, I personally confronted the president in a briefing when he came. The reason why I mentioned unity because I mentioned it in a briefing in front of the entire JOC, the Joint Operations Command province, and I said, they're useless, Mr. President. Your entire security is compromised. They must choose whether to become consuls or to be law enforcement agents. It was very clear. And credit to him, he went on to the podium and said, only Gondina, get up, stop it. Because I brought it up. And the reason why I brought it up, I told him that he is equally commandeering the police. He is commandeering the police. No wonder why your security is compromised. So that I say without fear, I have no time to waste. And credit to the president. He told them, get up, we need to stop this. The reason why Honorable Lula has been arrested is the moment that the president calls you in front of everyone, it gives the law enforcement agents who believe the party instructions that Honorable Chipina are superior than protecting the people, the ammunition to then arrest you, then they realize you're not as protected as you think you are. Taking selfies with the president does not mean that you can break the law. You see, and the president is very clear that you can be my friend, but when you commit a crime, it's a different thing altogether. So it had to take that. So, the structures that we talk about are now beyond just these criminals. You've got the security. I've tweeted that we are wasting time. The security is compromised, it's involved. He who ever controls gold controls politics. That's it. The military is involved. The police is involved. We've got to get institutions to work. Restore legacy happened. After Restore legacy happened, have we gone back to institutions working, or we now have a situation where we've got one institution that is in charge? And that institution is the military at the end of the day. The military must equally come clean and say, listen, Restore legacy was constitutional, it has happened, but we've allowed institutions to play their role. The police itself is weak because Restore legacy exposed the police, exposed CIO to say that you're weak. Okay, we are the people that have brought this new dispensation. As a result, we are in control of it. You've got to appreciate that the army controls the weapons, and because of that, every law enforcement agent cannot fight the army at the end of the day. It's the last line of defense. So these calls which are made are made from powerful people calling the police to release them. And it's about time we are honest. We like our army, it's the people's army. But if the army then becomes so involved, okay, in people being killed, in a situation where the law enforcement agents who arrest like the police cannot do their work, then we need to then say, but who's in control? See, unlike other politicians, our name, I've challenged the Minister of State Security to say, but people continuously mention you. Why are you then issuing? This now is a state security issue. Why don't you mention a statement and say, I have been mentioned in this, I'm not involved. Anybody with evidence to me being involved must come forward. You can't be quiet. I've said, what is the national security, which is chaired by the state security, done about coming up with a statement to say, this is now a security issue as a result, we're now going to ensure that it does not continue. There are people equally who mention the president in this. It's the responsibility of the Minister of State Security to protect the image of the president by saying the president is not involved. If there's anybody with the evidence, show us the evidence. The same thing that I say to my uncle, Sevia Kasukwere, say, Sekuru, if you are not in this movement, Tyson Walantu, why don't you tweet and say, I'm not in it, it's other people who are busy doing that. So it's now...
On your recommendation that the Minister of State Security must step in and challenge people to provide evidence, don't you think that's a bit dangerous? Because it can set a very bad precedent. Sometimes the evidence is very difficult to adduce and give to the state security minister. And I wonder why it has to be the state security minister instead of the Home Affairs minister.
The State Security Minister chairs the national JOC, which is the Joint Operations Command. He's superior in terms of national security issues. The sub-national JOC is chaired by the police. So that's how it works. They all sit there, Minister of Defense, Minister of Home Affairs, but the Minister of National Security does chair that. The Zimbabweans are bold and they speak out. I've always said that when they speak out, they're actually more protected than those who don't speak. You see, that's the reason why I have to find something to say every day. The moment that I don't, I feel I will not be safe. So to me, I'm very clear about that. The evidence is there. I think Honorable Chikwenya mentioned the fact that, you know, they say that bata muru ikachema mai wacho wanobuda. Ukabata muru ikachema mai wacho wanobuda. So these guys who are arrested, who are in prison right now, will give you the evidence. If you have a magistrate who then does not allow a witness to give evidence, it also says something. Then the question now is the judiciary equally kept? You see, this is where it gets to. So for me, I'm quite clear that the criminals are now working with the law enforcement agency is becoming very difficult. But the truth of the matter, which you can remember on this day, is that these guys will take them out of power. These guys will take them out of power. Remember this day. They have gone too far. They feel that they are helping them, but they're doing more damage to the electorate, to the people of Zimbabwe. The people of Zimbabwe have a tendency to keep quiet. They have the patience to be quiet for 5 years. And they only speak once in 5 years, that's when they vote. No wonder why the primary elections are not interested, because they like to vote once, but that's when they also speak and so forth. I think that would be my contribution on this.
Okay, just maybe one follow-up question on this one. You made mention of the army in this workshop, and you placed the responsibility on the Minister of State Security to clean the image or protect the image of the president. Isn't it incumbent upon the Commander-in-Chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces to also come clean in this whole thing? Now that the army is involved, as you put it, is it not also his duty to clean himself in this whole thing?
You see, we have got to be very clear and be very honest. It's either the people around the president patronize him. And in patronizing, they're then not able to tell anything true. This army is renowned for restore legacy. They were able to assist us in removing Mugabe, the late 37 years, which means there's nothing that they cannot do if they want to do. There's absolutely nothing that they cannot do. And they can do it from a constitutional point of view. 213 of the Constitution talks about the involvement of the army in restoring law and order. 213 talks about that. And this issue talks about law and order. Why are they not moving in, but just want to move in and restore legacy? When no one died, and so forth. But in this situation, where people die and they are quiet, and there's a provision in the Constitution that empowers them to do that. Read 213, Section 213, empowers the army. No wonder why at times in Zimbabwe say, what is the army doing on the streets? I'm saying, but you seem not to know your constitution. And that's the sad part of our people. They don't know the constitution. The constitution clearly gives the army the power to assist the police in maintaining law and order.
Thank you very much. I want to salute the chair and this panel as well as honorable members that are on the panel. First of all, let me begin by saying, as has been said by Honorable Chikwinya, that the NPRC is a new kid on the block. So I wouldn't want to go further and answer any question before I introduce the commission to you, so that you also appreciate what we were created by the Constitution to do. In terms of Section 252, A to J, you have 10 functions there. And then in terms of the NPRC Act, Chapter 10.32, Section 3, subsection A and B, gives additional functions of the same commission. In order not to belabor or bother you with these sections, let me just summarize and say the role of the NPRC as provided for in the Constitution is divided into three. The first part is to deal with what we call dealing with the past for simplicity purposes. Here we are talking about the past that goes as far back as anyone who dares to come and report can go. Unlike the Human Rights Commission, whose act says you deal with cases from 2009 coming this way, the NPRC's past is infinite, is determined by the complainant. And therefore, you will see that we deal with cases that are pre-independence related and post-independence. That is, you talk of your 1980 to 87, and then you come to the electoral period of the 2000 to 2008. There are conflicts associated with that. So that is the past. Then we are also charged with dealing with the current emerging issues as it relates to policies of government and legislation by Parliament. So we make recommendations around, especially Section 252J tells us to recommend legislation in areas that are conflict related. And so you will notice that there are government policies that promote peaceful coexistence. We reinforce those. Then there are certain government policies that actually impede or hinder peaceful coexistence. And we recommend revision of such. I can give you an example of such policies. For example, food distribution. You hear of many people complaining about partisan distribution of food. Our 2018 annual report, which we sent to Parliament, which is yet to be tabled at Parliament, just to take a bit from it, you will notice that we mentioned certain issues around the partisan distribution of food and agricultural inputs. And the policy around that, we felt that needs to be adjusted so that there is no partisan allocation of state resources to citizens. But not only that, there is also the recommendation of legislation where there is no law governing some conduct. For example, we recommended also in the same report that there be legislation that criminalizes.
Okay, Commissioner, maybe just to draw you just backwards.
Yes.
You say NPRC deals with issues of the past.
Yes.
You don't have a timeline.
Yes.
Honorable Chikwinya says Machete War started as far back as 2010.
Yes.
Is it not a timeline that is enough for you to say this is an issue that happened in the past?
Yes, thank you very much. I hadn't come to that because I felt it would not be just to start talking about Machete.
Yes, we understand you want to enlighten us.
I will summarize. I will just summarize. So it's important.
But maybe just to zero in on the issue of matches.
Okay.
Have you been investigating cases of matches, or you are just skating around them? and so forth. That's what you want to do. What are you doing in PRC
Okay, thank you very
on
much.
this issue?
The same Constitution, section 252F, says the responsibility, one of the responsibilities of the Commission is to receive complaints from the public and to take appropriate action as the Commission sees fit. We are not a mero motu organization. In other words, we don't initiate investigations where there is no complaint received. In terms of that constitutional provision, we are supposed to receive a complaint. And in terms of Section 8 of the Act, a report can be sent to the Commission by the victim or by their legal practitioner or their relatives. And in terms concerning the market issues, we have not received a single report from anybody, and that is on record. And I'm responsible for the complaints handling and investigations in the Commission. We are at number 99 Jason Moyo, and we have not received a complaint around that, which we got from any particular citizen. Apart from reading in the newspapers, we have done our campaigns, discouraging political parties from inciting young people, you know, because you see, both political parties would want to take advantage and say, you are responsible for that. That's what we have responded to. We have not received any specific complaint to say, NPRC, I am X, I have been affected by market issues, apart from media and the general statements by people out there. So that's it. That's what I can say about.
Okay. Reverend Commissioner, I just want you to confirm one thing.
Yes.
Or you rather reconfirm.
Yes.
Did you say that you are passive recipients of complaints?
Not
Did you say that you are not active researchers around complaints?
Okay. We, in terms of receiving complaints, we investigate in terms of Section 252F, which says receive complaints and take appropriate action. Parliament went further in Section 3, subsection 2A, and said, in addition to what is provided in the Constitution, the Commission shall investigate cases that it receives. And then Section 3.2b talks about research. In my view, it is in a respectful view to the audience. There is a difference between researching and investigating. That's why 3.2a and b are different. We do research on topical issues that we see are affecting communities. That's why our peace committees that we set up in every province, we have asked the members of those committees to raise issues that they feel are topical in their communities, so that the Commission can go further and research around them. But as far as complaints, investigation of complaints is concerned, we are definitely a passive recipient of complaints because we don't create law, we use the law that is provided.
Thanks, Reverend. I think the Reverend has made this point very clear. How this commission is